Hey guys, welcome back. This week we're going to talk about the things that you should be learning if you haven't already learned coming out of a narcissistic relationship. This is like the lessons. Like, let's talk about what should I be gaining from all of this annoyance, pain, frustration, anger that I had to go through or feel. If you've ever talked to a person that has come out of one of these relationships and is super healthy now, these are the things that they learned and worked on within themselves having been through that situation. First thing that we all learn, you're learning it. That's why you're watching this video. I learned it. It's just part of the deal. Number one, what is narcissistic abuse? What is a narcissist? The character traits, the red flags, all that stuff. We learn it not to become paranoid the next time we're dating and trying to meet friends or whatever, thinking everyone's a narcissist. No, we learn it so we have a healthy understanding of people, personalities, dynamics, character traits, all of that stuff. This totally opened me up to like a new way of thinking and operating in the world. It wasn't that I was pinpointing everyone, you're a narcissist, you're codependent, but it just gave me self-awareness to be able to consciously decide whether this person was good for me. The next thing I learned, and this was the best lesson ever, and once you learn this is where you actually thank the person for hurting you and doing what they did. I actually learned for the very first time how to really love myself. I learned self-love, self-worth. I learned how to parent myself. Like, I dove into me, and that's usually what happens once you learn the vocabulary list of narcissistic abuse. Once you learn about narcissism and you're like, okay, I got this, you have to work on yourself because everything has been damaged. Your self-talk, your self-worth, your self-esteem, and we're not going to put all of those things on that person because those things are our responsibility, and we let someone have that kind of control over us. But we start from ground zero, everything, where we're like, okay, I need to learn how to take care of myself in the best way possible on another level that I've never really even done before prior to this person. I learned that how I felt about me was my responsibility. I didn't put it on that other person. I didn't blame them anymore. I wasn't saying, well, I'm this way because of what you did to me. Nope. That victimhood, at a certain point, it goes away and you just fully take responsibility for yourself, because self-esteem, self-confidence, self-worth, self-love, all that stuff starts with self. I learned how to actually trust my intuition. Like, I learned the difference between intuition and fear. Trusting my gut was that little voice that was telling me very early on that like something feels off or this doesn't feel right. And I don't care what you say, that voice was there and you did hear it. You did hear it. Did you listen to it? Did you focus on it? Did you believe it? No, that's something completely different. And you can't really trust your intuition and that gut feeling if you don't have that like self-parenting, self-worth, self-love stuff really, really intact. Once that stuff's intact, you learn to trust your gut really quickly and like you don't second guess that. Then it was like moving on to boundaries. That was the next thing where I learned how to stand up for myself. I didn't fear confrontation anymore. And I really learned how to take care of myself in a way where I was putting myself first in terms of mentally, emotionally, physically. Like when something felt off, when something didn't feel good, when I needed to step away, I had to learn how to respond to people and not just react every single time they did something or said something that bothered me. So boundaries had to do with them, but it also had to do with myself. Like, I had to have more self-control over my emotional state when I was around people that were triggering me. That ties into the whole self-worth, self-esteem, working on self-parenting, all that stuff. So like the more I worked on that, everything started to change. Like the two big things were learning about emotional abuse, narcissistic abuse, manipulation. How do I spot these things? But you can spot something all day long. What are you going to do when you spot it? Because then you just freeze. You go into like that old programming, that old mode. So working on yourself was about not shying away from confrontation. It was almost like welcoming it in a way without actually starting it or starting the drama, but it was not being afraid to set those boundaries, to enforce those boundaries, and to be consistent. I learned that just because someone's interested in you doesn't mean that they're the one for you. I stopped running around thinking, oh my God, he's interested in me. Oh my God, he loves me, just because he said he was or did or whatever. I started going off of action rather than words. I no longer needed to hear the romantic, oh my God, I'm so in love with you. You're my soulmate. Yes, that's great. Words of affirmation feel absolutely amazing. Actually, I think action speaks louder than words, but that's just me. And I learned to just value the consistency in who someone was I was very much fooled by words and long notes and romantic gestures and all the love bombing. And I was swept away just like you guys were in the very beginning. But it was the consistency while dating that I was like, okay, this doesn't really match up too well. Or I started to see that when something was done that was nice or thoughtful or romantic, there was always something else that was needed. It was like, it was a tit for tat game. So I started seeing these things, but I didn't want to believe them. I would say the third thing, so we're talking narcissistic abuse, emotional abuse, learning that stuff, self-worth, self-parenting, all of that, self-love, all of that stuff. We're like really working on the inner stuff. The third thing that I think, I mean, these are all like, very, very important, but there's like 3 that are big biggies. And the third one was healing. Like I had to move on from mom, dad, childhood, programming, like forgiving people that did me wrong, that I felt like shouldn't have done what they did, like all of that stuff. I had to learn how to forgive. And again, I sound so cliche, and you've heard this before, but I did it for me. Like I am over telling the same story over and over again about why he did this to me and how I'm the victim. Yeah, I was the victim. Yeah, you probably were the victim. But at what point do we keep playing that story? Because that story is not helping me to actually move forward. It's just keeping me stuck feeling like I'm the victim. I don't want to feel like the victim. I have to sit for a second how something makes me feel, but I don't want to be a victim. I want to be empowered. I want to move on. I want to not allow someone to have that kind of control over me. I also want to understand why people do what they do and not take it personally. And that was something very early on. Luckily, that was easy for me. Was I didn't take what was happening so personally. Doesn't mean it doesn't hurt like hell, but I didn't take it personally. Like I understood what was happening. I understood what was happening with everyone. I just had to learn how to not be so triggered after it happened. To be human and feel, you have to, but to not be triggered where it kind of like takes over and stays with me for a really long time. That's when you're giving someone power over you, is when you're staying stuck in that space for too long. So I learned the healing process. Then it was about learning what healthy relationships should actually be about. And it started with myself. Like once I learned how to have a healthy relationship with myself, and look, this isn't like the best. No one can have the 100% best. I'm so healthy all the time. It doesn't exist. I don't care who you talk to. I don't care if you're talking to watching some guru or some whoever. Like, no. We are human. We all mess up. We all feel things that are uncomfortable. We sometimes stay there for too long. This is just about high levels of self-awareness for you to be more enlightened than you were before. That's what's going to actually like change your life and transform you into a better version of yourself. Not playing this like, okay, I'm perfect and I don't feel and I can move through something in 2 seconds. Like that's just no. Don't let anyone fool you. That's not healthy. That's not realistic. But I learned what a healthy relationship with another person should look like once I started having more control over myself and being healthy in my own skin. So for me, those were the top real biggies that I learned. And those are the top things that honestly, I help you guys with when I coach any one of my clients. I hope you guys enjoy this video. If you are struggling at all, please, I highly advise you to really dive into self-development. Like invest the time and the money in the courses, in the seminars, and in the whatever's kind of speaks to you. I always link all my stuff down below, but whatever speaks to you and what you vibe with is what you should be doing right now. Like take the time, please, I beg of you, to work on yourself while you're in this period. It will benefit you for the rest of your life, not just get you out of this like painful time that you're in. I hope you're well. Thank you so much for joining me. Don't forget to subscribe. So check me out on social. Everything's down below as well. I think that's all I got right now. It's 74 degrees, a beautiful fall day. I hope you're doing well, and I'll see you in the next one.